All right. Welcome all. Welcome all. I'm extremely excited and extremely grateful to have an opportunity to be here to talk with Mr. Daryl Dennis about emerging technology. As you know, technology is everywhere, and as these new technologies are being implemented in business, it is definitely important for us to be aware of how it impacts us as a whole. So, what better way to learn than to have someone who is well versed in the field come speak with us today? To start off, my name is Simeon Hicks. I work with the BSAG organization by supporting their efforts to provide employment, education, and legal assistance to under resourced and underrepresented communities. And also, with this being Black History Month, we thought what better way to embrace the importance of this month than to add to the Black excellence and Black history that currently exists. Black people are an integral part of technological advancement. For example, from Marie Van Brittan Brown and her invention of the first home security system to the color PC monitor invented by Mark Dean. Our guest, Daryl Dennis, is nothing short of amazing as he serves in a capacity that allows minorities, women, and veteran entrepreneurs to flourish and protects businesses, operational processes, and security posture. He has experience in serving in the Clinton administration, developing, implementing, and advocating for laws and policy, being an associate deputy administrator for entrepreneurial development, a counselor to the United States Small Business Administrator, and director of Verizon's Federal Small Business Programs and its Department of Defense Mentor Protege program, has allowed him to become a well versed in government procurement and understand the needs for telecommunication and security services. With this, his business Wire 2 Net LLC was established and has been flourishing ever since. And on today, we will use this time to get to know Daryl Dennis and his thoughts and experiences within or with emerging technologies. So, thank you, Daryl Dennis, for being with us today. We are extremely grateful for your presence. And I would like that. How are you doing? How are you doing?
Pretty good. I am glad to be here celebrating Black History Month. I recall in my years on this planet when it was Black History Week, and not too many years before that, it was just a Black History Day, if I recall correctly. And so we're evolving, even though DEI is under assault from very conservative flanks of our society. But I think as our history has taught us, we are people who persevere, and
Hmm.
we will be here for the long haul. And so I'm delighted to be here and share some of the experiences I've been fortunate to benefit from, and hopefully some of my candidness can add some impetus to others jumping in the fray and carrying the baton even farther.
Definitely, definitely. I look forward to hearing everything that you have to say. And, perseverance is definitely key. Doesn't matter what we go through, but we will always overcome.
That's right.
So I guess to start, can you tell us a little bit about your background, how you got started, and about your business, Wire to Net LLC?
Yes, I attended and matriculated from Howard University. I moved here from the Louisiana bayous, and I came to Howard. In fact, this year will be the 50th year I've been in Washington, D.C. I came as a bright-eyed freshman on the hilltop. I played college football for 4 years there as a letterman, and recently inducted as a contributor in the Howard Athletics Hall of Fame 2 years ago. It was because of Howard that I had an opportunity to whet my appetite in the procurement arena in the nation's capital. I was a young intern my junior, rising senior year at the Department of Navy. And it was at that time in 1977 that I was given an opportunity to support the Naval X Department of the Navy, which was the electronics section. It was loaded with engineers. Now, they spoke a language that I didn't really understand because I was a political science major.
Mhm.
But those gentlemen and women were very nurturing, and they inspired me to not procrastinate in pursuing my other aspirations of when I came to Washington. I intended to pursue law studies. So I'm educated and trained in law at Howard University. But it was during that internship with the Department of Navy that I was tested and given. That's when I received my first top secret clearance,
Hmm.
uh, and I was actually exposed to the U.S. SALT treaty with Russia at that time, and I didn't. To be candid with you, it was really above my level of understanding, but I learned that those classified documents that I was exposed to, and we hear a lot about classified documents these days,
Mhm.
they're maintained in a certain manner. And you have to enter a skiff, a compartmentalized environment where only those individuals with similar clearances can see those documents. They are stored in the skiff. You can't be casual about them. You can't copy them, and you certainly don't discuss them with any party without a need to know what similar clearances are above. So that experience was invaluable.
Mhm.
And from there, I worked a year while I was preparing my applications for law school, and I commenced my studies in '79 at Howard University School of Law. I was trained by some of the disciples of Thurgood Marshall, Herbert O.
Wow.
Reed. Herbert O. Reed was one of the lead counsel who represented Adam Clayton Powell when the members of Congress attempted to expel him from Congress. They refused to seat him, but when you have the eligibility, when you meet the eligibility requirements of being of at least 25 years of age and a resident, a domicile in your district, when you are sworn in, you're eligible if you've been elected by the members of that district. So Dr. Reed and Howard Kunstler formulated a very formidable legal team and preserved Adams' rights, and he was ultimately reseated in his district on behalf of his district. So from there, from law school, I had a chance to work in the Securities and Exchange Commission. I was in the division of corporate finance. In that division, you literally are reviewing companies who are seeking to be publicly traded, and those are companies that must satisfy the 1933 Securities Act. Non-publicly traded companies file their securities registration statements pursuant to that act, and the companies that were publicly traded were the ones that must satisfy the 1934 Exchange Act. Those are the companies, the Verizons of the world, the AT&Ts, those companies that are already publicly traded. And we also review their proxy statements, which is the annual shareholder, in preparation for the annual shareholders meeting. What I learned in that experience was this was in the early 80s, and that's when technology was beginning to
Mhm.
really take a foothold in our ecosystem. I was in the division, Corp Fin, as we affectionately referred to it, but my branch was the branch that had the responsibility for what we call then the high tech industry. Of course, it's evolved. We no longer just say high tech. We may call it AI, quantum computing, things of that nature at this point, and cybersecurity. But that was the preamble to the arrival of these new technologies. What did I learn there? I learned the intersection between government and industry from that experience. You needed to have the mental acumen to appreciate the business drivers for those industries. And quite frankly, growing up in Louisiana, when I grew up, I mean, I had very literate parents, but they were not active in the securities markets in the 50s and 60s. And so when I arrived and have that opportunity, it was quite an eye opening exposure for me. We learned that the first commissioner of the SEC was none other than the patriarch of the Kennedy family, Joe Kennedy, because of his expertise in, let's say, leveraging his business savvy to maximize returns. When President Roosevelt realized that our markets were exposed to potential manipulation,
Mhm.
who did he name to be the first commissioner of the SEC? Joe Kennedy. And that's when a lot of guardrails were put in place, the 33 Act, the 34 Act, uh, the corn of the phrase, any investor must be able to rely on material disclosures by companies attempting to sell their product, i.e., their shares and ADRs, American Depository Receipts, on the open stock exchanges, the New York, the American NASDAQ. And so I had that exposure. And from that experience, I had an opportunity to work for a division of the Boeing company. It was Boeing Computer Services. And in that section, I negotiated their intellectual property agreements in principally the mid-Atlantic areas, primarily Detroit, Chicago, and Atlanta. Those three cities comprise of 43% of the revenues that were generated by that division. And this is when enterprise computing really took a foothold. So again, I'm staying close to the field of technology, not by design, just I was at the right place at the right time.
Mhm.
I'd like to tell you that I road mapped it this way, but that would be a stretch. Um, as a result of those opportunities, I ended up at then Bell Atlantic Federal, where I was a part of the Legal Contracts Administration group, and my role was to negotiate our subcontracts with a cadre of small businesses in order to meet our subcontracting goals that you have on every federal contract, unless you have a comprehensive subcontracting plan. Bell Atlantic, which became Verizon, did not have a comprehensive plan. Therefore, on each contract that we were the prime, and the contract exceeded 500K, we had an obligation to have a subcontracting plan as to how we would award opportunities to women, minorities, veteran-owned businesses, as well as individuals with disabilities, although it wasn't as prevalent for disability-owned firms
Mhm.
in the early 90s or late 80s, I should say. This experience ignited a thought that a colleague of mine and I worked on, Dr. Wilma Leon. We put together a white paper for our leadership at Bell Atlantic. We made them appreciate that our company, while we were succeeding in meeting our subcontracting goals, there was a marketplace that we hadn't tapped, and that was working as a subcontractor to any small business. And what type of opportunities would result from those kinds of teaming? Well, we developed a plan that highlighted, based on our research, that the addressable technology, telecom, IT marketplace that was set aside solely for small firms to be a prime was a grand total of $50 billion.
Mm.
50 billion. And we couldn't compete as a challenger to any small business in that marketplace. However, we could be a subcontractor and perform up to 49% of the labor on any such contract and sell this as unlimited technology unless there was a small business manufacturer of that same technology. And of course, there aren't many, or any rather, small businesses who manufacture telecom switches.
Mhm.
And so our leadership saw those numbers and immediately decided that we would have a defense approach to that marketplace and a civilian approach to the marketplace. And I was given the privilege of running the operation where we were teaming with small firms in the DoD world. And as you know, DoD is the largest buyer in the federal marketplace. The US government spends billions of dollars annually in that marketplace. And we immediately had the opportunity to team with a firm, Tech Masters, which was, it still is owned by, I call him a young man, Dr. Marvin Carroll, well into his late 80s. And he's based in Huntsville, Alabama. Tech Masters is the name of the firm. Bell Atlantic and Tech Masters developed a proposal for the Department of Navy when the Navy was in need of a equipment refresher at Roosevelt Roads Naval Base in Fajardo, Puerto Rico, due to aged infrastructure as well as due to just technology being in need of being refreshed, along with hurricanes that would constantly rip through the island. And this base is very strategic at that time. It's been BRAC since then, which means it's been closed. But at the
Mhm.
time, it was the largest U.S. base in the United States, 25,000 acres.
Wow.
Our teams developed a new fiber optic ring around that base with brand new switches installed, new switch technicians, and that was my team. And that was a very important contract. It was worth at least 25 million just to Verizon alone, of Bell Atlantic. And we did this in a rapid fire fashion with our site prep to ensure that we could scope it out so that we would have as minimal amount of different site conditions when our engineering team returned to install the switches around the base. And because of its location, their technology was very important, not only for the maintenance of the troops, but the warfighter, as DoD calls its troops. But it was necessary because it's an interdiction location at that time for drug trafficking.
Mm.
Uh, and so we learned quite a bit about that experience. And it was at that time that the Clinton administration, this is in the early 90s, they made an offer that I joined the team at SBA. And this was also at a tumultuous time when the 8A program, which is manned by SBA, and for your viewing audience who may not be familiar with the 8A program, the 8A program is a program development for entrepreneurs. It's race neutral. However, the overwhelming majority of the members in the 8A program are people of ethnic backgrounds. But we do have Caucasians in the program.
Mhm.
And the basic tenets require that you are socially and economically disadvantaged. The social disadvantage, heretofore, when I was approached to join the SBA, it required that well, ethnic minorities were presumed by law to be socially disadvantaged due to the impediments here in the marketplace for entrepreneurs of color to gain a foothold as business people. Over the years, and most recently, that's been challenged in court.
Mm.
Uh, and at that time, it was the Adirondack case that challenged the 8A program. We were able to uh, narrowly tailor the program to sustain any attacks against it. We called it, President Clinton referred to that era as mend it, don't end it. And so we went about the business of looking at all programs in the federal landscape that would be deemed affirmative action programs. And we ensured that they were narrowly tailored to meet the Adirondack test, that they were race neutral. Now, at that time, people would often wonder how does a Bill Cosby, we used that name at that time, or Michael Jordan, they're in the presumed class of socially disadvantaged people. However, no one would assume that they were economically disadvantaged. And therefore, even people in the social disadvantaged class had to show that their net worth didn't exceed a certain dollar threshold in order to gain eligibility and acceptance into the program. So it had some guardrails.
Right, right.
So if you want to stop me at any point, do so.
Well, look, I was just taking all the information, and I was just taking
Okay,
all the
well I can keep
information, and you
going.
definitely,
I
you,
can bring you to the current time in terms of where we are as a business and how we've migrated from my days at Verizon to entrepreneurship. I retired uh, in 2005 from Verizon with a little tap on the shoulder and a gift package from Verizon that it is time for you to rest your heels from this place called Verizon. So I
mm,
took my little package and uh, moved into entrepreneurship. Uh,
okay,
created Wirenet LLC,
right,
and we started with first contract out of the gates was with SAIC, where we gave them a organizational analysis of how they where they stood against the competition in their field of
mm,
endeavor. From that contract, we moved to working with, at that time, it was a firm by the name of Forest City. When the Navy Yards in DC, between the current Navy Yards and what is now the baseball stadium, that was 43 acres that needed developing. Forest City came to me and asked, would I be interested in developing that mentor protege program because I was one of the draftsmen of the SBA mentor protege program, as well as uh, I developed Verizon's mentor protege program,
mm,
and it was a good fit. We based it on DC firms. It was a voluntary program. However, large businesses who chose not to participate would be at a disadvantage if their competitors participated in that program, and they did not. They got some brownie points, if you will, by being in the program. It was highly successful. From that opportunity, we were able to be involved with Department of DISA with IPv4 to IPv6 migration. Someone,
okay, okay,
what what is IPv4 and IPv6? If you think about the plumbing system in your home, you may have a small pipe, or you may have a cast iron pipe and not a PVC. Well, in order to move more volume through those pipes, you need a larger system. And so we, we were adept at migrating firms and agencies from the small IV fours to the
mm,
six, and that's
right,
what
and
the industry is today.
okay,
But
and
Go
I have
ahead.
one question. So in migrating your IPv4 to IPv6, this was because there was a limited space for IPv4, right?
Well, yes, and there's a need for more data to
Hmm.
flow, and data needs larger infrastructure in order to navigate to a larger platform.
Okay. And with because there is a need for more data to be sent, would you believe that this is also the case with all the emerging technology or like the new emerging technology that's being implemented, such as like Internet of Things, how they have I believe it's AI in other pieces of technology.
I would say so. And I think what we're going to see in the foreseeable future, and I use this word guardrails,
Hmm.
AI could be a tremendous asset or it could be an albatross on on
Okay.
on the inner workings of any enterprise, be it government or the private sector. And
Hmm.
I think we have to be mindful that with any new technology, there may be some bad actors in the marketplace. Uh, well, case in point, recently, our president
Hmm.
was mimicked on AI, and,
Right.
and so and we're moving into a very contested political season,
Hmm.
and I'd really be concerned about how that could be manipulated in academia, how it could be manipulated with
Right. ChatGPT.
yes, and how I think tools are vital, but we nothing can supplant
Hmm.
our need to develop our own brain cells to ensure that we have thought leaders who not only know how to use the technology, but they can still do something as basic as research
Right.
independent of a Google. You know, when I grew up, may seem ancient, we had things called libraries. We, we had things where we had encyclopedias,
Right. Right.
and I do appreciate that at the stroke of a pen, we can find things that are vital without much effort. But I'd love to see us still learn to
Mhm.
master the English language, to write well, because texting has kind of paralyzed our grammar.
Right. Right. From all the shorthand text,
Right.
shortening words.
I mean, again, I don't think I'm too ancient, but I don't know some of the acronyms that people are using in texting these days.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. Honestly, I find myself baffled sometimes too, because
Can I share one thing with you? Because I know you're going to put the time clock on me pretty soon. I wanted to at least share how we use tools on one of the more interesting contracts that we have managed in our years of existence. One is with the interns that we manage. We use, today it may seem real simple, but a lot of people are accustomed to having hard case handbooks and memorandums that they walk around with. But we develop digital libraries
okay,
and digital handbooks so that when our interns are Oconus, we've had interns as far away as American Samoa to throughout the contiguous U.S. states. And they need digital platforms to retrieve vital data.
hmm,
In addition, on our homeland contracts, we have developed their domestic terrorism program.
okay,
Our firm, a small business, 8A at the time, developed the Department of Homeland Security's Countering Domestic Terrorism program. And not only did we develop it, we received what you would get in class as an A, or in law school, if you got the top grade in the class, you got what is called a AMJUR, American
hmm,
Prudence Award. You got the high grade. We
Right.
got outstanding on our CPARs. For people in the federal contracting world, they know all of your contracts are graded. And
Mm.
if you have a CPARs, when you attach that to any proposal that you're bidding on, and it reads the way the one I'm referring to reads, where it states that not only were we outstanding, but the Department of Homeland listed that would you do business with them again? It says absolutely. So those and with that program, we use tools that enabled us to go into chat rooms
Okay.
to try to preempt the bad actor before the bad actor became a menace to society.
Hmm.
We deployed our community engagement coordinators to 11 cities around the country in spots where we knew and known potential extremists, as well as we attempted to preempt those extremists in those
Hmm.
jurisdictions from influencing the likes of people like me and you from becoming converts. And those were tools that we utilize that allowed us to invade expected or I should say not expected, but individuals and organizations that may have some extremist tendencies.
Right. And for these tools, they were using the emerging technology that exists, or
Some that existed, some that were being beta tested.
okay.
Yes.
Uh, would you be able to talk about some of the emerging technology used, or not necessarily? Because I know it's live.
I will. I think what I may do with your assistance, I have been approved to put our guidebook in the
Hmm.
public domain. So
Okay.
what I'll do is send you a digital copy,
Right.
and I think to the reader, they can extract what they deem to be potentially helpful. And what I will also tell you is that we're now aligned with the company Infoblocks, owned by Black billionaire Robert Smith, uh, Infoblox. They are among the top firms in ensuring that your networks are not infected with
Hmm.
malware. We're exploring uh, becoming a protege of theirs in the DoD Mentor Protege program, and we believe that that program, working with Infoblocks, will take us to the next level in a very meaningful way on a global basis.
Definitely, definitely. Honestly, that sounds extremely interesting, and I'm sorry to say, but it seems like we're coming up on the time.
Well,
Yeah.
I know I was a little perhaps uh, I was encroaching on some of your time, and I
No,
apologize.
it's okay. Honestly, like we're just.
Once you get me started, it's hard for me to slow down. I would like to put a footnote on
Hmm.
one
Of
thing
course.
that people should know. SBA is one of the most important agencies in the federal bureaucracy. And
Hmm.
I would urge more African American entrepreneurs to pursue becoming 8A certified. And we've represented firms in their mission to become a member of that August group of 8A firms. We advise on how to prepare your application. We're 100% ensuring that firms are approved. And the 8A program, as it exists today, in the past, rather, there used to be a tripartite agreement, meaning the 8A firm, the SBA, and any agency that was buying goods or services from that company, all three had to sign the contract. Well, during my era as counselor to the SBA administrator, in my prudent wisdom, I suggested that we eradicate that tripartite approach because SBA's counsel would be duplicating what was being done by the procuring council, agencies council, and the agencies that was awarding the contract had its own contracts office, so we didn't need SBA to replicate those tasks, and it was bogging down the awarding of contracts. And at the end of the game, the name is to get it out as quick as possible.
Mhm.
And so I eliminated that, and no matter which party's leader was in the White House since '98, Democrat or Republican, they've maintained the Daryl Dennis initiative called Eliminate the Tripartite 8A Agreement, which is to the benefit of all parties involved and billions of dollars being awarded to firms. So I'd like to leave you with that, as well as
Yeah.
encourage your firms to also seek SBA's small business investment companies. FedEx, AOL, Outback Steakhouse all got their start, and Dell Computer with an investment by an SBA small business investment company. And those companies alone
Mhm.
paid more in federal taxes than the budget SBA has for that program. So it's a win-win for us as taxpayers.
It definitely is. It definitely is. Honestly, I really appreciate all the information. And I would like to say this interview has been great and extremely encouraging. And I believe that it's extremely important for Black leaders in tech to provide us insights. And it's more so an honor to be in the presence of such a profound leader in the tech space. And we're also, I would like to mention that we're also getting an IT program up and running to combat the issue of the digital divide,
Yes.
and people not being able to have access to just information and these different opportunities that you are providing us and the information that you are providing us. And we believe that it's extremely important to have that knowledge. So we would definitely love to talk in the future, touch base and potentially create opportunities and different ways to work together with you, especially in the realm of the SBA, small business, investment companies.
Well, I will tell you this. I look forward to it. And I will tell you, I will also, in addition to that Homeland guide that we developed, which uh, we gave as a blueprint to John Piccarelli, who was he was the director of this office when we worked at Homeland. He's now with the National Security Council. And we'd like to believe that some of the lessons he learned from our exposure with him may have benefited him, and he's transcended that to his current location in the White House.
Mhm.
Uh, I'll also send you an article I wrote on bridging the digital divide, which became part of a syllabus of a business school class at St. John's University in New York
Hmm.
City. So I look forward to it, and I'll share one other item that then CEO of what's the firm in San Jose, John Chambers was their CEO. He introduced me at a press club, a briefing on technology. I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on him at this moment, but it's the network company in Silicon Valley. But if you pull up John Chambers, he was their CEO at the time.
You- It is compliance. Here, I was trying to see if I could pull up a little bit of information on him really quick.
I believe I can tell you right quick if you got a minute. I'll tell you. It's hard to believe that I forgot his company. And the minute I mention the name, it's going to resonate with us.
Is it Sageview?
No, it's wait a minute, John Chambers, uh, Cisco.
Sis. Oh wow, wow. That's definitely a name that I need to
Yeah.
remember.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, Cisco.
It
Cisco.
was quite an honor for him to introduce me at a press club briefing
Hmm.
where we, in the Office of Entrepreneur Development at SBA, that was under my leadership when I was Associate Deputy Administrator for Entrepreneur Development. That office has what is called co-sponsorship authority. The only office at SBA that can literally accept gifts from the private sector, i.e., cash and technology.
Hmm.
And John Chambers was developing some entrepreneurship courses that we displayed on our website for entrepreneurs to participate in, and it was developed and financed by Cisco Systems, and
Hmm.
we discussed it in a press club briefing there on near the White House, and I was featured with John Chambers and John Giancarlo, who's a senior vice president of entrepreneurship.
Man, that's an amazing experience. Really, congratulations.
Well, thank you very much.
Of course, of course. And I believe that I think on that note, we may just call. I'm honestly really I want this to continue, but
Well, Simon, I understand, and I'd like to give a shout out to you for being a HBCU grad at the
yeah, definitely.
mighty Virginia Union.
Yes, sir.
You know, and I always
Yeah,
have to give a shout out to my Bison. Go Bison, you
of
know.
course. Yeah. Yeah. The real HU.
The real HU. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we'll call this in. I'm thank you for taking your time to talk with us today.
I'm humbled to have this opportunity. I really am. Tell Raphael that I'm happy, and I will also tell his the person in his life that I've spent some times with on a board. I'm delighted that I had this opportunity, and I look forward to reaching out to you guys with some other individuals who you might choose to bring on this platform as well.
Hey, definitely. We would love to connect with you again in the future, and we would love to connect with anybody that you believe we should we can benefit from.
Well, thank you, and please send me this clip. I'd like to put it on my website.
Hey, definitely, definitely. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.